Hello, everybody. Hey, or hi, I say to you all. Being persons among yourselves and my social media family and visitors alike. My social media family being of whatsoever races, like any visitors to that being in my own personal channel and or chat room. If not being whatsoever, whatever walks of life, factions of society or lifestyle preferences as any visitors could possibly be. But then nevertheless, like any visitors would be of the old, young alike, as well as of whatsoever races and, of persons of whom are among whosoever would be affiliated, associated with, and representing, both of the two sexual genders of males and females. Representing that being of not only the human species, but then nevertheless, or all the same, or in other words, the global community within this post 911 era of our new millennium, of this apocalyptic day and age. And whereas the doomsday clock is now, the doomsday clock being of the military arsenal of the remaining superpowers is supposed to be now at a few minutes to midnight, compared on how formerly previous or prior to then it was at a quarter midnight for these rather biblically prophetic times. Do forgive me a pardon, begging your pardon if my voice sounds a little scratchy, then because there's a certain proverbial neighbor from hell I suspect is sabotage and attempting to sabotage my general physical health in one regard or another, by whatever means one could attempt to do so on the sly, and that's including pumping some of such rather poisonous toxic fumes into the atmosphere of my place of residence of an apartment for this unit, being which I pay monthly rent, etc. for, and where I'm having to make do with whatever, means to clear the air. That's including if I were to have to open up a window for that matter. Say like so. But then you notice the title for this own particular social media broadcast of mine, as we have it for the present given moment in time. As it is regarding making reference to this one proverbial neighbor from hell, public nuisance problem neighbor for likes this kind, a dime a dozen public nuisance problem neighbors. Disregard what you heard in the background. That sounded like a helicopter. Well, hopefully then one of the proverbial neighbors from hell, public nuisance problem neighbors, especially this one in particular, like a helicopter, be it of a military helicopter, a police helicopter, or a medical helicopter. Anyway, though, getting back to some of such other. But then, you all, regardless of whatever I could speak upon, be it a one thing or another, if I were to speak upon one issue at hand or vice versa, be it a controversy, not be it a plague upon any given society, country, or nation, that yet to be resolved if it has not been already or not. But then, if I were to speak upon one thing or a couple few subject matters, a topic of discussions to be debated, given arguments with many different views and opinions to be affiliated, associated with, and representing thereof. But then don't kill the message. I'm just here to deliver. Hopefully with that much less uses of expletive or profanity, much rather than instead of with that much more cuss words to simply say. And therefore, likewise, then let it be said, and hopefully with that much less of a chance to be playing the part of the devil's advocate, less too evil, being a prodigal son, being of that sheep that has strayed away from the 99, compared on to, and where one would have to make amends in due time if one is supposed to be a believer, compared on to the worst of two evils, being of the likes of any of those false brethren, of the worst or the worstest of unbelievers and unbelievers, being the deceivers who pretend to be believers in God, as in Christians, a.k.a. Protestants. And therefore, they themselves being of those of these supposed so-called holier than thou, the false brethren, false prophets, antichrist, religious church hypocrites, religious con artists, religious charlatans, religious chameleons, religious shysters, religious phonies, religious fakes, would from there be not only of the worst or the worstest of unbelievers and unbelievers, being a deceivers who pretend to be believers in God, as in Christians, aka Protestants, but then likewise as well, I was saying, they themselves will be considered as being among the likes of the worst or the worstest of closet devil worshippers, being of whom make up the majority of most churchgoers or whatsoever or whatever religious denomination, from the pools to the pulpits, of members and visitors alike. Yeah. But anyway, though, getting back to that vice versa, but only after I mention this here. If you come to my personal channel or chat room, respect it, that you are one of some such members of my social media family or visitor to it, then because I will not tolerate, not in the least, any disrespect, being in which I would find to make me feel uncomfortable, all the same as a proverbial neighbor from hell, of a public nuisance, a problem neighbor, is continuing to attempt to make my life a living damn hell upon a daily and a nightly basis. Regardless of whether or not he himself has toned down some of all that or those different noises that he would make of an extreme excessive nature, but then nevertheless is still making noises of some source of such types to be possibly considered, then of which is a violation of his apartment rental lease, as well as it would disrespect my rights and privileges as his fellow neighbor of a resident or tenant. I mean, we have got some really crazy people or persons in this building where I'm at. I'm wondering whether or not the nutcases, crackpots, or cranks of proverbial neighbors from hell, or public nuisances, or problem neighbors, or characters here are just as worse or worse yet than the ones been of whom I have had to put up with or be bothered with their nonsense. That same line of thought, since we're at the last building I was at as a resident tenant, paying annual monthly rent, utilities, and home phone service fee bills before I moved to this one. And whereas that was one of the reasons why I've had to move, because I like to come here and be bothered with the same old sort or type of characters to be possibly considered. I mean, it's really ridiculous, ridiculously ignorant and insane of life, Okay. But then getting back to some such other now that I got that out the way, supposedly and did something. Or as I was saying, or if I did not say before, so I say so now, and if I did, let me repeat myself, as some things are worth repeating or reiterating. But then if you come into my personal channel and or chat room and come off like someone or such a one being one of these negative internet trolls who could possibly remind me of a proverbial neighbor from hell, of a public nuisance problem neighbor who being a life could possibly be moonlighting as one of my dime a dozen crank callers and stalkers, then take a hike, because life is too short for that kind of nonsense. You hear? For believers and unbelievers and non-believers alike, believers in God or vice versa, and because this is not the podium or platform to spread all of your negativity or whatever source or types. I'm not having it. Okay. Whereas at times I can get more enough of my own demons to be possibly considered than to have to be bothered with the influences of some or such others' demons. Be you of the likes of a neighbor from hell, or one of my public nuisance problem neighbors, dime a dozen characters carrying on or not. Dime a dozen characters in their own right be possibly considered. Yeah, but then nevertheless, this is one of them freebies that I'm airing or broadcasting for this particular social media video of mine. Especially when I couldn't sleep at some such given time. It's way past my bedtime hour, 11 p.m. Whereas now it's about a little after 2 or 2 something in the morning for the Midwest of the USA. And I just thought to, record this here to have it on file. Just in case I may want to have the management of the landlord as well as the police or cops to review it. In due regard in reference to a certain proverbial neighbor from hell. Or one of the public nuisance problem neighbors who could remind me of some of the internet trolls who could be just as offensive at times for the likes of one's kind. But then, if any, likes of one's kind, all right. But then, if any, but then certain neighbors could moonlight as internet trolls, right? Like certain internet trolls could moonlight as certain neighbors, or the likes of proverbial neighbors from hell, public nuisance problem neighbors, crank callers and stalkers. But then, if you're one of those internet trolls that come in here that would remind me of a neighbor from hell, a public nuisance problem neighbor, then you can take a hike. And because I'm not having it, as I said before, so I said again, I'm not having it. I will soon silence your chat. Silence your chat, and then if need be, I will block you. And very few persons being upon my block do I permit to regain access or to re-enter that being of my own personal channel in our chat room. Because, it's a waste of time to permit somebody else to vent where they don't belong, where they don't have the authority over somebody else's domain. It's not happening. Not with that of my own. Then how you all doing? Hopefully everyone is doing at least okay, if not better yet to be said. All right. If not best of all to be said, to be feeling blessed and stressed, more blessed and stressed, too blessed to possibly become or be stressed. You and yours, family and friends, hopefully me and mine, likewise as well, all the same. Now that I've gotten the preliminaries, the basic intro out the way, then let me commence with the exercise and speak upon some of such matters as it is for the present given moment time, of a subject, being of an issue at hand, and of a rather problematic one, and more or less a controversy. So I'm at my own business, right? And this one particular neighbor has been carrying on for the longest. I'm trying to tolerate. I'm trying to ignore it. Very minute I make some sounds, then I'm being put into the category of or classified as being possibly the likes of hell-raising troublemakers or public nuisances or problem neighbors or proverbial neighbors from hell. Whereas something someone told me to look outside my apartment door, look through the peephole to do so. And sure enough, there's somebody standing right outside, spooking the damn hell out of me. And I'm like wondering, how long has this joker been there, Did he have something else on his mind to begin with? And how I see that he himself is supposedly, holding electronic device of a cellular phone or cell phone, to simply say. Like he himself is implying that he will dial the emergency number 911, for the police or cops to report me to them, I'm not saying you got some nerve. All the time I have had to hear that nonsense coming from your unit's atmosphere, a place rather than an apartment, and you want to attempt to add insult to injury by standing outside my apartment door, to my place of residence. So, like, I'm asking him the question, this question while I'm in the inside, he's on the outside. So I'm like, "Can I help you, sir?" And what's he saying in reply, in response, or whatever I've said? Do you think you could tone it down? The noise in your apartment, one of your neighbors close by, blah 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 blah. I'm like, what? I'm like saying, well, what about all that noise that I'm hearing coming from certain apartments close by? Well, I was just saying myself, it works both ways. Okay, I got your message. Okay, all right. Yeah. So then he leaves, and I'm hoping that he would respect my wishes as well. I mean, the audacity, the nerve of some people. And I didn't think to call the police. I'm thinking, what good does it do anyway? He never opens up the door to them. I really don't feel like doing so at this late night hour. You know, just rehash some bad memories that haven't been involved with this nonsense. But I could make contact with the management, not at this late hour either. I'll do it some other time. I mean, can you imagine that? Really? Because I'm thinking, like in my head, are you serious? Are you for real? I like to have told him if I had not been thinking, but I just left it alone so far as saying some or such otherwise. Like, man, if you don't get away from my door, you better. I don't care what or who you riding with. I got the biggest gang in Chicago on my side. They're called CPD, the Chicago Police Department. I got more than enough friends on the Chicago Police Department, as well as I got enemies on the Chicago Police Department. Well, hopefully I have more friends on the Chicago Police Department than as much as enemies upon some of such. But it's much rather instead, I had decided to take the other approach, whereas I'm asking him while I'm on the inside of my apartment, he's on the outside or some such. My apartment door separating the two of us. Can I help you? And then he says all that other blah 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 yada 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 woo woo woo, all that gobbly goop that ain't worth 2 cents. Funny thing is, after he leave and I go away from my apartment door and go to another area of my apartment, then I'm hearing the same noise for a minute there, and especially the noise of somebody making like they're bothering with my apartment door. So I say to be much more specific. I'm not saying, oh no, you didn't. And now I'm getting mad. I'm looking for something in my apartment that I could use to bust somebody's head and then some. Even if I'm not strapped as a present given moment time with a Smith and Wesson, if you know what I mean, read between lines, fill in the blanks, fill in the words to that to be thought of in that line, thought in a sense word. Read read my mind, read my thoughts, but then I'm thinking I get the police and the cops to do that for me when it comes to some or such other, vice versa. Some of my police friends. Yeah, I leave it to them to take care of this necessary business in hand. Otherwise, because I ain't got a piece of strap at the moment to lock and load, but whatever I would have, hopefully do the trick all the same. A lock and load. What I'm gonna say, to fire off a few rounds. Cause I said, man, because I started to tell him then and there, but I changed my mind. Man, if you don't get away from my apartment door, you better go get your poot-butt pissant punk self, punk faggotty or punk faggot self away from my apartment door. You better. You got some nerve, man. All that noise I'm hearing in the likes of your apartment, different noises, extreme incessant noise, and you got the nerve to come down here and lord around my apartment door, outside my apartment door. You got another thing coming. I ain't no punk, man. You ain't gonna take me for a wuss or wimp. Okay? You ain't gonna use me as a floor mat. I don't care what or who you ride with. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm riding with the biggest gang in Chicago. It's called CPD, Chicago Police Department. But anyway, so this joker, he finally get the message. He wasn't there for long. Or I would say something like up under half a minute for that matter. Not just a minute, but up under half a minute. Because I'm not in the mood for dialogue or conversation at this given moment in time. Noticing, witnessing somebody's right outside my apartment door, talking smack, attempting to make it seem like I'm the troublemaker or the hellraiser, or like this kind of proverbial neighbor from hell being one of the dime a dozen public nuisance problem neighbors. I'm not feeling it. For a weekend and the weather temps is funky or foul as damn hell. Like a 2-bit old school valley girl of a street punk or gangbanger riding with a clique that forgot to take care of her personal hygiene, if you know what I mean. I mean, this weather temps, like some mad, crazy scientist, be one American or Russian or whatever, has thrown a monkey wrench in Mother Nature's program once again, where the weather temps is enough to have to be barred with than to be barred with all these crackpots or cranks or crazies, certain neighbors as well as strangers out in the street. Just the other day, some of these jokers act like they was attempting to pick my pocket at one of these free eating spots of a soup kitchen, that be moonlighting as a food pantry. And while I'm sitting up in that camp with them watching TV, this one of those particular atmosphere that has a TV you can watch. And while we wait for the meal to be prepared and then served, and like, I didn't get much sleep, at that given moment time, I'm kind of nodding. I'm having to shake myself awake. Let somebody clip me, pickpocket me, and then I find myself stranded somewhere in no man's land, and then trying to figure out how I'm going to get back to my pad to call it, a day and a night for that matter as well, and then try to see if I can make it to a bank that bank in question where I got a little stash of cash so I could, pay for some transportation money so I could, ride out the rest of the month up until the time I get that once a month check, and then, buy me a regular monthly pass or so, because I'm thinking somebody may attempt to clip me, and then I'll be out here and I'll be practically, if not possibly, or practically and or possibly on the verge of becoming one of these homeless, shiftless, sorry, poor excuses of men. And as most of the homeless, they are homeless because they want to be homeless, okay? Then I had yet to solidify the deal to get this here, what you call property insurance going so that I can continue to stay here as this one of the building that requires some such, I had yet to get that going again, renew it, insurance in that regard, on the rest of those matters. So, anyway, though, to think that this one character, getting back to some such, he's hanging outside my apartment, though, loitering around, got what appears to be an electronic device of a cellular phone, cell phone, is simply saying, like, as I said before, so I say again, as I state for the record, like he himself is implying that he would dial the emergency number 911 to call for the police or cops to report me to them. I'm like saying, are you serious though? You got some nerve. I like to tell him, man, could you get away from my apartment door, man? I don't want to have to ask you again, because I ain't begging you, man. Do I stutter? Could you get away from my apartment door? But some say, nah, you ain't got to go that route, man. You're supposed to be a believer in God, a Christian, man. We're supposed to take the much more mature approach, the Christian approach, the godly approach, regardless of how someone or such others may have done us wrong. We got to take the bitter with the sweet. When you have lemons, make lemonade. But then lately, I'm not going to lie, I haven't been feeling too friendly or Christian or godly as much as I would like to, especially when you look at things for the atmosphere of our times as we have it, for this global existence with the pandemic and all. And they have closed more than quite a few churches and self-help recovery program meetings and so forth. I'm being put at a disadvantage in one regard and another, in both of those two ways so mentioned, whereas I'm not feeling too friendly now. It's like it's a scheme of the devil, scam of the devil, and his demons, the evil one and his minions, to keep the greatest threat to his worldly kingdom upon the planet Earth, in this dark and dying world, from threatening his kingdom or his empire, because he himself wants to reclaim what Christ supposedly had stolen from him, being that rulership over humankind, being because before then, we all were like more or less still up under the spell of the devil, or with the exception of any believers in God before he had done his ministry upon the planet Earth and then had been crucified. Whereas any believers in God back then, they would go to this hell. They would go to the heaven and hell, is what I mean to say. The heaven and hell, then because they couldn't go straight to heaven elsewhere, they had to go to that part of heaven that was elsewhere in hell. Because until Christ were to be crucified, then they would have to go down there. Whereas now, if any believe in God, make that transition for the great beyond of the hereafter, for the afterlife, then we would immediately go up there to heaven. We would not go to any heaven and hell that was there before the crucifixion, because there would no longer be any heaven and hell down there. Then because after the crucifixion, Christ went down into that heaven and hell and poured not only those believers in him, believers in God as he himself is, out of that heaven and hell, or rather out of hell, but he had poured likewise that heaven out of hell with them. All that went with them, as well as all the believers in God, one true God. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Yeah. How to get on that conversation. I had to remember before I lose my train of thought. Prince of Peace continue to let my mind compare to Prince of attempt to confuse my speech. As I mentioned, get my goat like a certain neighbor, But anyway, though, so this here character of a neighbor has been carrying on for the longest, Or I was saying in more words of that, how I'm quite pissed, that I cannot attend any, like say any church in any regard, or any self-help recovery meeting as a recovering chronic alcoholic and a recovering reef addict, and humans require human interaction, We're not like machines, robots, or zombies, We have a need to socialize, All this online stuff, sure, it'll satisfy for a moment, but not like human interaction of a much more tangible or physical nature that you could, feel the atmosphere really like you've been in the presence of other, living human beings, walking and talking and interacting and socializing, in one regard and another, for business and for pleasure, and be like, ha, 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 he, laughing it up, or whatever that rocks your boat, or make it float, or whatever, take some of the edge off, relieve the stress, than to be of something of a stress builder, and misery loves company. I ain't trying to go out like that, I have had to put up with this one neighbor for the longest, and like I said before, so I say again, as I have said in former previous videos of my own making, social media broadcasts, how this one particular neighbor, I don't hear any television or radio in his place of residence apartment of Union's atmosphere, like as if he himself is spying on me, like some kind of psychopath or sociopath for real, like a real life psychopath or sociopath, then the likes of any one of those characters played or portrayed or depicted in some or such of these psycho drama, movie flicks, or Hollywood, California motion picture productions, like from Psycho to Silence of the Lambs to whatever other, film, movie flicks, or Hollywood, California motion picture productions of that nature. Say Hollywood, California, being because the majority of celebrities, they are weird, as they are really associated with and representing the, you know, movie, television, and music industries, being because they have sold their souls to the devil. They're lost, So this one neighbor acts like himself a demon possessed with the way he be carrying on, Like I said, I don't hear any television or radio in his apartment. Like he's creeping as well as be making all that noise of different sorts or types of extreme excessive noises, And likewise, while he could possibly be spying on me, I'm like, that's crazy, Then I add insult to injury. Like I said, I never become subject to experiencing this encounter before. I'm looking through my peephole, my place of residence apartment. I'm seeing somebody standing right outside my place of residence apartment door. I'm like, what's up? What's up? What's up? Good thing I wasn't strapped with a piece of gap at that given moment in time, Okay. I ain't trying to go out like that either, But I asked him that the question of, can I help you, sir? And then he said, yada, yada, yada. Ooh. I'm saying, man, are you serious? You got some nerve. It works both ways. If you want respect, you gotta give respect. How many times this joker has violated his apartment rental lease, and at the same time, all the while disrespect my rights and privileges as his fellow neighbor of a resident or tenant, whereas I have had to hear at times for hours on end as well as daily and nightly, all the bumping and stumping noises of an extreme excessive nature, in addition to any other kind of noises, being of which are just as much extreme and excessive. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I'm at the moment. Peeps, folks, famo, my social media family, and any visitors to my own personal chat room. Still dealing with these crazies or crackpots or cranks within the present building where I'm located at as a resident or tenant, paying annual monthly rent, etc. Having to deal with some of such creeps and crazies of the same kind, sort of type, to be possibly considered characters of crackpots or cranks of El Stupido effing idiots as well as sickos, psychos of neighbors, The devil's a lie and the truth is not him. But then as I have given you all the basic intro and then speak upon some such matters, subject, topic of discussion to be debated, for that if someone such given on time or given an argument with the many different views and opinions to be affiliated, associated with, and representing some such thereof, I'll be able to speak upon a couple, few or four or more for that matter, depending upon how I feel. And then last but not least, which I would give the closing to particular social media broadcast or video by saying, even if I have to paraphrase it don't come naturally for me to do so, and that is by saying, if you haven't gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I would hope that you would think to do so now, while the blood is still running warm in your vein, by recognizing and realizing what he himself had done or did upon the cross of Calvary and hill of Golgotha, suffering at the hands of some such Roman soldiers upon the orders of their religious superiors and political ones for that matter. Religious superiors being the Pharisees and Sadducees back in the day in ancient time. But then nevertheless, whereas he himself had permitted all that had happened to him to suffer at their hands, to become or be that perfect sacrifice, the only sacrifice for you as well as for me, so that if any of us being of whatsoever race and whatever walks of life, factions of society, lifestyle preferences, being of the old and young alike of both two sexual genders, of males and females, represent not only the affiliated or associated with and represent not only the human species, but then nevertheless the global community within this post-911 era, but new millennial apocalyptic day and age, and where the doomsday clock being of the military arsenals or what remaining superpowers are supposed to be, or is supposed to be at a couple few minutes of midnight, compared on how formerly previously prior to then it was a quarter midnight for these rather biblically prophetic times. Word to confess some of such faith in him. From there we become and be blessed in one regard and in more ways one. First and foremost, with the salvation being of which is the only means by which any of us can or could possibly hope to enter into the kingdom of heaven, to be considered as citizens thereof, among other like-minded believers in God as in Christians, a.k.a. Protestants, and in the company of God and his angels. And second of all was we would be blessed with his deliverance while we're still down here upon planet Earth in this world. But first we have got to get his salvation. Been of the not just a much more, but the most important blessing before you can be blessed in any regard, so that you can be considered as a citizen of the kingdom of heaven. All roads may lead to Rome in this world, but all roads do not lead to heaven in the next. Whereas unlike those other persons who would be across the great divide that separates heaven from hell, we don't have to worry about becoming a being of the likes of them, of the unsaved, lost human souls of unbelievers and unbelievers, who will burn in hell for all eternity for having rejected so great a salvation up until the time they were to leave this world, be tortured by the devil and his demons forever, compared to what our existence would be like otherwise. You all take care and be safe. Be blessed, not stressed. Peace.